Hello, it's Michelle Rubel again, and I'm going to answer your questions on culture and motivation. And you'll see that I'm kind of looking at a script I created for myself and answered everything and really went through, my personal experience along with the information I've learned through going through Legendary and going through Facilitator and then staying active within the work over the last year. So we'll dive right in. And personal responsibility, what it means within the transformational work, and how do I practice it when it becomes slow and uncomfortable. So within transformational work, responsibility means the ability to respond and the obligation, and not the obligation to force outcomes. It's the willingness to take ownership of how I relate to what's happening internally, regardless of what's happening externally. In David Baer's methodology, responsibility isn't about blame or pressure, it's about awareness and choice and alignment. For me, practicing personal responsibility starts with recognizing when it's time to actively engage in the methodology and when it's time to allow the phenomenon to integrate. There's moments when applying meta distinctions like identifying a belief or shifting state or using the decision matrix, it's exactly what's needed. And then there's other moments where responsibility looks like patience, stillness, and allowing that nervous system to catch up with the new decision that's already been made. When results are slow or uncomfortable, I've learned to see that as meaningful data rather than failure. Discomfort often signals that I'm standing on the edge of new identity or a new perception. It's frequently the tipping point where old wiring is loosening and new understanding is becoming available. Instead of resisting that moment, I embrace it as a sign that transformation is actually happening beneath the surface. In those moments, I practice responsibility by slowing down, creating space, and listening. Sometimes through the silence, sometimes through empowering questions. Questions like, what's trying to emerge here? What belief is being challenged? What am I being invited to see differently? Personal responsibility means I don't abandon the work just because it's uncomfortable. I stay present, curious, and engaged, trusting that transformation unfolds in layers, not always on my timeline, but always in alignment when I stay committed to the process. So, to describe a time when the methodology challenged one of my habitual ways of thinking, and boy, I had a lot of them, still do, and I'm still working through all of them. How did I work through that challenge? So, one of the most profound challenges that the methodology presented to me was confronting a deeply ingrained belief that I was meant to live a life defined by pain and simply endure it. I had to work through it and to prove my success even through all of that pain. I had experienced physical pain since I was about 2 years old, as far as I can remember, and as far as my parents had told me as well. Over time, through countless doctor visits and unanswered questions, that belief quietly solidified. It became part of my identity, not just my experience. It was during Legendary that I was guided to see this belief as not truth, but as a decision I had unknowingly made. And through the methodology, I began to see that while the pain was real, the meaning I had assigned to it was shaping my entire reality. And what shifted everything was recognizing that the same pain had also led me to growth and awareness and connections I may never have had otherwise. And instead of viewing my life as something to survive, I was able to make a new decision, and that I was on an ongoing process of healing, and that this healing could ultimately support others in their own journeys. And that decision reconnected me to a truth I had always known as a child, and that is to help the world and reduce suffering in our world. That has always been something that stuck at my heart, and something that, people thought, well, that's really ambitious and that's not possible. How many people are in this world? But it was something that I always knew to be true. And I knew that every single person can make a difference and that I had a role in that. I worked at the program to rebuild my relationship with my body, my story, and my future. Ultimately, this work has transformed my entire family. I see the struggles my children have differently, and I respond to them in a whole different level. Their lives all have also been transformed by me simply doing the work. I allowed others to support me, recognize the healing doesn't happen in isolation, and today I'm medicine free, and I experience life with a sense of trust and openness I didn't have before. I now look for synchronicities as feedback from the phenomenon, trusting that as long as I continue to do the work, healing will continue to unfold. When feedback invites you to see yourself or the work differently, how do I engage in that process? So over time, I've learned to genuinely appreciate feedback, not as criticism, but as an invitation to see myself more clearly. While self-development had always been part of my life, it was through the mindset work during Legendary and Facilitator that really the real transformation began. And feedback within the methodology isn't about fixing what's wrong. It's about receiving what's unconscious. I'll be honest, there's times I still struggle to see my own limiting beliefs, and that's why I stay connected to others who are actively practicing mindset work. It's really important to me. Community plays a vital role in this methodology. When I'm too close to my own patterns, others can reflect what I might be missing. I intentionally meet with 1 to 2 people every month that I've met through Legendary. They are in the same work and in alignment with my own goals in life. They're honest and transparent and not pleasing me, but helping me uncover those limiting beliefs. I engage with feedback by first noticing my state. If I'm in a primal response, defensive, emotional, withdrawn, I know that that's information. I don't rush to resolve it alone because I've learned that isolation often prolongs it. It prolongs the suffering. And instead, I lean into support, conversation, and inquiry. This process has helped me reframe healing and not as something heavy or exhausting, but as an evolving adventure. And each layer of feedback often is a new discovery, a deeper understanding, and a chance to align more fully with who I'm becoming. Because of this work, I don't fear what I'll uncover next. I get excited about it. So, what allows you to stay grounded and present with someone who is discouraged, reactive, or questioning the work? And I was one of them at one point, so I totally can relate to it. Staying grounded with someone who is discouraged or questioning work begins before the conversation even starts. So I take intentional time to be still, to breathe, to center myself. I pray for guidance, openness, and the ability to be fully present, not to fix, convince, or rescue someone, but to hold space for them before I get on the call. And when a client is reactive or discouraged, I allow them to share fully without agreeing or reinforcing their story, but I let them know that they're heard. And I ask permission to explore more deeply. I think consent is important. It helps maintain trust and create safety and allows them to open up a little bit more on where they're at. From there, I'll use questions to gently uncover the state of being that they're operating from. We explore emotions as information, identifying fear or resistance, frustrations as signals, not as problems. Through the journey, clients often discover that the surface issue wasn't really the issue at all. And once the limiting belief or the resistance becomes visible, we can work with it differently, and often through the decision matrix, help them shift their perception, identity to be aligned with their next steps. Staying grounded means trusting the process. The phenomenon does the work. I allow the client to arrive at the insights themselves because that's where the real change happens. What responsibility do you believe comes with being a trusted coach? And how do you relate that to that trust in your work? Being a trusted coach is something I hold very deep. I have a lot of respect for and have humility for. I don't believe that I'm the one doing the work. The phenomenon is. And my role is to facilitate, awareness, create safety, and guide people back to their own power and their own truth. Every person I've worked with feels like a gift. I believe that there's intention behind every connection. And for me, that intention is guided by God. That's for my role. And I recognize that for them, it may be the universe, God. It's their understanding of that higher power. I trust that I've been given the opportunity to learn this methodology so that I can pass it on, helping others create meaningful impact in their lives and in their communities. With that trust comes responsibility, and not to control the outcomes, but to show up with integrity, to show up with presence and reverence for this process. I see coaching as part of a compounding effect. that as each person transforms, they carry that transformation forward, touching others in ways I'll never see. That's what keeps me grounded in this work. The knowing that each session contributes in some small but powerful way in reducing suffering and increasing awareness in this world. This has been something I've always wanted to be involved in, and it's to end suffering in the world. And I know now that that is possible, one coaching session at a time, as people embark and embrace what their gift is in the world. Um, I truly believe that the experiences that I've received have brought me to a deeper level to help others reach deeper levels in their lives. And thank you for the opportunity. I hope you really do consider my application, and any way that I can serve in David Bear's community, I'm more than willing to do that. Thank you and have a great day.